Like we're always trying to push the envelope to try to understand how do we give our assets superpowers.
Alrighty, everybody, what is going on? Welcome back to another CYPRX video banger. In today's video breakdown, we're going to be diving into some newly released footage from the Real World Assets Summit that took place this year in Brooklyn just a few days ago. All of this footage is publicly available now on the Centrifuge YouTube. Today, we're going to be listening to industry-leading experts from Apollo, which is one of the biggest asset management firms in all of crypto with over $700 billion in assets under management. Today, we're going to be listening to Christine Moy, and then we're also going to be listening to this gentleman here, Sanat Rao, from Monarch Asset Management, which is a quantitative asset management firm with hundreds of millions of dollars in AUM. And we're going to just be diving into some of these insights as they go hand in hand with this ideology behind becoming your own bank, adopting this notion of understanding and learning DeFi primitives so that way you can get your digital assets working for you. And I want you guys to really listen to what these industry leading experts are saying, because it will clear up a lot of the, speculative notion that DeFi is not going to be around, that it's not something that you should learn, and instead listen to people that are actually market makers in this space tell you guys that looping is going to be something that everybody is going to be able to participate in the near future and something that you should be learning. So starting off here with a little bit of a motivational post, I said to you guys, no one is coming to save your finances, your future, or your freedom. It is on you to learn, to act, and to position yourself for the wealth and life you want. Invest smart, preserve your capital, explore DeFi opportunities, and commit yourself to improvement. Because at the end of the day, it is your responsibility to get you where you want to be. And so, as you all know, if especially you've been watching the CYPRX YouTube for some time now, we have been shifting our entire focus to DeFi, DeFi, DeFi. And now fast forward to, the likes of some of the largest industry experts in the space, Keyrock, you got Fireblocks, Ripple, R3, all sitting on stage, Securitize even. And what are they talking about? They're talking about DeFi strategies. They're talking about giving your digital assets superpowers at this event. And so we're going to dive into what those superpowers are and how that's going to be available to every single individual, no matter what your starting capital is, whether it's a couple $100 or whether it's millions of dollars. This is the future. Generating yield is the future. So before we even dive into that, if you guys want some free content, if you're new here to CYPRX, head over to the CYPRX YouTube, click on the playlist tab, and then watch all of the video breakdowns in our yield playlist. It'll get you guys up to date on everything that's happening in the world right now around DeFi, crypto, and putting your digital assets to work. And it's an entire playlist of free curated content going over all of that in detail. If you guys want a little bit more in-depth content on how to start to get your digital assets working for you, how we are utilizing these DeFi protocols and what digital assets we are earning on in the now via step-to-step how-to tutorial video breakdowns, head over to CYPRXtrading.com, tap in with us in the Wealth 28 Club. But don't take this from me. Take this from Christine Moy. We're going to lock in here and we're going to listen to her talk about how we are in an era where these digital assets are gaining superpowers. Take a second here and listen.
Having spent the decade in that first phase, like doing over 50 use cases on permission blockchain, I think, a couple of things like we've learned, which is we always talk about blockchain as super efficient and automated and DBP settlement, yes, sure. But that hasn't in the many use cases that I've run, hasn't ever been enough of a draw to get people to change their behaviors, to get them to, basically change their systems. And keep in mind, you have to invest in these systems, right? So what actually, changes behavior, what actually sort of drives sort of shift in systems. And it's about new products, new offerings, things that you could not do with legacy, quote unquote, legacy systems that you could do now with blockchain systems, and also commercials. That's kind of the bottom line. As interesting as blockchain is, there's the commerciality that drives all of us, right? And so I think especially from our seat at Apollo, we have fantastic partners that are in the audience. We're always trying to push the envelope to try to understand how do we give our assets superpowers, right? Like, it's not like, oh, let me just, put like Apollo private credit on chain and like, hooray, like now you can access the same exact thing that you can access off chain, like, maybe even easier. But this is why, we spend an enormous amount of time with our partners exploring DeFi. Because, for example, in one of the pioneering projects that we did with Gauntlet, on Morpho, essentially what we were able to demonstrate was, well, what the Gauntlet team and Securitized team did was actually enable Apollo private credit to be used as collateral in a Morpho DeFi bar lend protocol, essentially enabling Apollo private credit holders to, post their A credit position, borrow 50% LTV at like, I think at that time, Ro, keep me honest, it was like a 1.5% cost of capital. Now it's like 4%, which is still pretty good. Basically, enabling people to enhance their returns from 7% to 15%. Now, like, that's kind of like a really interesting.
So you just had Apollo sit on stage and admit at a recent event that just took place a couple of days ago that they have been participating in really fixating their attention on DeFi and allowing their clients to earn upwards of double-digit yields, 15%. That is coming from an asset management firm with $700 billion of assets under management. And you still have retail investors that are speculating that DeFi is some scam. That is huge confirmation and like a straight wake up call right there. Like that should flash warning signs to you. Hey, anybody that thinks that DeFi is a scam after something like this being said on stage, huge wake up call, right? Focus. Now is the time to lock in. This is the new wave. It's not abnormal now for institutions to earn double-digit yield and for retail traders to earn double-digit yield. It is becoming the new normal. And it's actually, we're entering into an era where if organizations, if institutions, if retail investors aren't earning double-digit yield, then they're going to lack competitiveness. They're going to risk falling behind. That is the future in which we're headed into. So she mentioned the notion of giving our digital assets superpowers. Well, if we go back here to this Figment panel discussion that took place just 2 months ago, she talks about exactly these types of strategies where you're going to be able to, post digital assets as collateral, earn yield directly in your secure, safe wallet, and these looping strategies. Take a second here and listen.
ETFs. What type of alternative vehicles are you exploring? What have you guys done in this space, and how are you working with helping build exposure to digital assets on chain?
Yeah, no, and thanks. I'm like really excited to talk about this. Like, I think for those of you that have known me through the decade, it's been my life's work to try to figure out how do we tokenize real world assets and utilize the blockchain to build better products and services and experiences than we have today. So like just a quick example, like when I get paid by Apollo into my bank account, like I kind of guesstimate, like maybe this is how much my credit card bill is. Maybe this is how much I have left. I should do something with that. And then if I actually got it together to do something, which I don't because I'm a hot mess and I'm working too much, like maybe I would like press a bunch of buttons and like get them into treasuries just to get like a base level yield. Or, if I was really ambitious, I'd start investing in some Apollo products, but we never get there. Now, and then inevitably, if I end up doing anything, then I have to reverse out of it because I got to pay taxes the next month. So then I have to like, press all those buttons and call a private banker or whatever it is that I need to do to get back into cash. And then literally like, all of my earnings just not utilized, not invested, not yielding or anything. Now in a future world where we have multiple assets on chain, and by the way, the future is here. I get paid from Apollo and I get paid into my crypto wallet. And my crypto wallet has designed for me a model portfolio that is 10% stables, 20% money markets, 25%, Apollo private credit, of course, and 25% like YOLO crypto native yields because I'm risk tolerant like that. And so basically I get paid and automatically that pie chart, like my payment or whatever my payroll is, gets automatically distributed into that pie chart. And without me having to do anything, every cent of my earnings is being deployed, invested, and yielding. Take that a step further, I go to lunch at Nobu, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like I'm going to pay for lunch now, $100 to Nobu. That would be an automated, DeFi swap from treasuries into USDC, off-ramped to pay to Nobu. And not only is every penny yielding, it's yielding up until the last second for which I have to spend it.
So here she's talking about these DeFi strategies. She's talking about earning yield up until the very last moment that you spend your dollars. Now, she also goes on to admit that she has been learning about looping strategies.
And what's clear to me, and it should be clear to all of you, is that the next generation of investor is very different and from an expectations and activity perspective than current set of investors, right? Like clearly, you know, especially in like the crypto native set, like not only do you want to invest and have yield, you want to interact with your investments. You want to, you know, I guess I've been learning about looping and vaulting and like swapping, right? Like you want to get.
So there she goes. She went on to openly admit that she's been learning about looping and getting her digital assets to work for her. In the CYPRX private community, this is exactly what we talk about. Here is our DeFi mentor, Kevin, who just recently posted this infographic discussing one of our strategies that we utilize in the Metallicus ecosystem to loop rewards on a consistent basis through staking, taking those profits, putting them in farming pools, harvesting those farming pool rewards, and then looping them back into our staking positions and just constantly looping, yielding rewards all directly in a wallet that is built for both retail and institutional investors. So this is just to show you guys that here in the CYPRX Wealth 28 Club, we are aligned with what these large institutions are talking about on stage. We're not here in this community talking about hypey price predictions or anything. We are aligned with what the banks are talking about. That is like I said, a huge wake-up call to shift your mindset from price appreciation is the only thing that's going to get me to where I want to be in the future, to compound, earn, never go broke, and build wealth over time. That is, again, what we believe here in the CYPRX Wealth 28 Club should be everybody's focus. For people that are locked in, for people that are fine-tuned with what's happening and what we can do now with our digital assets, especially like digital assets like XRP, XLM, XDC, assets that never had a well-defined DeFi ecosystem. Now, for the first time ever, heading into this new era, are you should be focusing your attention on how to never have to sell your assets, how to earn passive rewards on them, and retire off of just the passive income that you're making alone from your crypto investments. Now, again, don't take that from me. Here is another industry leading expert. This is the gentleman from Monarch Asset Management, and he is again sitting on stage from this video breakdown posted 1 day ago to show you guys the lack of people that are watching this type of content. This video only has 75 views. He's sitting on stage, and what is he talking about? How they're participating in these DeFi looping strategies.
To compensate for the risk, right? And which is why what ends up happening for us is we end up looking at real world assets, and almost always we are looking to loop it, right? So, and I know it's not a security question. So in fact, we're actually adding more risk, right? But we like to loop it so that the yield is higher than what it would be traditionally in just from the asset itself, right? And looping means basically depositing, rehypothecating the asset, depositing it somewhere, borrowing USDC against it, and buying more of the same asset, and so on. And so for us,
he couldn't have said it any better. Word for word, what he just said is exactly what we touch on in our private community Zoom calls. It's what I've touched on in previous video breakdowns that are publicly available on the CYPRX YouTube. And so again, just to show you guys, we are entering a brand new era of finance, and these strategies are going to become the new normal. If you're already embedded into crypto, you're inherently taking on risk. And just like having crypto in your portfolio, you likely learned how to mitigate risk, how to put crypto in your cold storage wallet so that way it's not sitting on centralized exchanges, how to invest in blue chip digital assets so that way you're not subject to rug pulls by investing in like meme coin and scammy projects. You figured out how to mitigate and lower your risk, but you're still inherently taking on risk. Well, in DeFi, you can do the same things. Yes, DeFi, just like in crypto, is inherently risky, but there are ways to participate in DeFi that'll allow you to mitigate and lower your risk so that way you can participate without this notion that you're going to get rug pulled or that it's a scam, and you can start to generate passive rewards and build a bigger bag in crypto. And now you have confirmation from both one of the biggest asset management firms on the face of this planet, Apollo, and a gentleman from Monarch sitting here telling you guys, hey, looping, we're interested in it, and we are a financial institution, which as a retail investor should spark your interest because we want to be aligned with what the banks are doing. The banks are not focused on price appreciation. They're focused on growing and expanding their wealth and earning yield on these digital assets to hedge against the volatility that these digital assets inherently have. Now, with that being said, I want to just give you guys some motivation here because Christine Moy, just like us here in the CYPRX Wealth 28 Club, we try to encourage all types of investors, no matter what size portfolio you're starting with, to start learning about DeFi. It doesn't matter if you have $100, doesn't matter if you have $1 million. This is available to everyone. It creates a level playing field. And Christine Moy here hits it on the head and says exactly that.
Like what's happening today that people aren't really talking about is that there's actually a conflation of bank accounts and investment accounts, whereas, in a regular world, we kind of keep them separate. And so, and I think that if there was anything that we've learned about smart contracts and DeFi is that smart contracts are incredible at rebalancing like different types of assets. It's just that to date, it has been like different types of crypto assets, which, are all part of your existing diversified portfolios. But in the future, and talking about expanding access, talking about like, let's say the depositors of Tether, like in the future, you can have like an expertly designed, diversified portfolio composed of, stables, treasuries, AAA, CLOs, private credit, equities, designed by an expert financial advisor, could be like your classic, like Morgan Stanley, UBS, could be, your next generation vault curator. And essentially, regardless of if you have millions of dollars, thousands of dollars, hundreds of dollars, or tens of dollars, you will still be able to have a really well designed, yielding and fully invested portfolio just for you, just at a click of like your crypto wallet. And I think that's like really incredible. Like, when
just off a click out of your crypto wallet. So hopefully today's video breakdown motivated you guys. Remember, we are not advising anybody go out and deploy in DeFi. What we are suggesting, however, is that you fully embed yourself into education. Learn these DeFi primitives. Go into these protocols. Read the white papers. Look at the risk. Look at what could be possible for you guys to earn yield on your digital assets. You do not need to risk your crypto to learn DeFi, to embed yourself into this ever-evolving ecosystem. So that way, when regulations are clear, when the risk is a lot more mitigated than it is in today's environment, you have the education backing so that way you can go and deploy and start to expand your wealth. And you don't have to sell back into the traditional fiat system, get stuck and get priced out of crypto by selling your assets for a dead, decaying, dying currency, fiat. And you can stay in the Web3 space and you can grow your wealth, hopefully retire your family bloodline, and everybody can go home happy. I'll play this last video clip here because this is exactly what Christine Moy says after her last little portion of the speech here on stage, is that the goal here is for you to retire yourself just off your savings account. Take a second here and listen.
we think about how do we, at Apollo, like our main mission, I know this sounds really cheesy, is like to help people save better, to help people retire better. I know all of you young crypto people are like literally like, what are we retiring for? Maybe early retirement.
They're already retired.
Yeah,
They're already
retirement if you invest in like
right.
your Apollo product. But like, basically like in the broader world, like why do we do what we do? We generate alpha, we create yield so that people can take their savings and live off of it really well and retire off of it really well. And, to be able to broaden that access to not only everyone that we do today, the next swath of, broader retail investors, but even like the underbanked and unbanked people who are now adopting stablecoins in their wallets. Mm-hmm. I think that's an incredible like expansion of financial services that, I'm here for.
Yeah, no, that's a hell of a rally.
So hopefully today's video breakdown really motivated you guys to jumpstart your education in the DeFi ecosystem, to start to learn how to get your digital assets working for you. We're always here in the CYPRX community to try to show you guys institutional insights. We're not just waking up and saying, hey, you should go earn yield on your digital assets because we think it's the best thing to do. No, we take insights from the largest institutions in the game. We rehypothecate that information to you guys so that way you can digest the information coming directly from the people that are in control of these markets, right? The market makers themselves telling you guys looping, DeFi, yield generation, retiring off your savings, and earning passive rewards directly in your crypto wallet is the future. So with that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video breakdown. This video and videos like this squash a lot of the skepticism that floats around in the crypto ecosystem. I hope that you guys enjoyed. Do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button and subscribe. And as always, I will see you all in the next video breakdown.